My team and I discovered this brilliant young American that is cursed with good looks and charm. His name is Jensen, and he is a fantastic DJ that lives in Huntington Beach, California. Come to find out that he was 2 grades below my good friend in high school, one of the toughest badasses on the planet, former UFC champion and HB mayor, the Huntington Beach bad boy, Tito Ortiz, who I'm going to convince to move into Mar-a-Lago soon, and Hall of Fame tight end Tony Gonzalez. And it just so happens that his Uncle Bruce and Aunt Kiki from Motown were Tito's longtime next-door neighbors. So I know I was going to like this guy. But let me tell you about what this brilliant American did and how he was able to solve 3 major breakthroughs in science all at one time, something that all of the smart guys throughout history all failed to do. But somehow this brilliant, devilishly handsome man did all 3. First, he started off cracking the Sator square puzzle that has been unsolved for 2,000 plus years, which is a 5x5 square of 5 separate words that when written forward, backwards, horizontally, vertically, all of the words spell out the same thing, originally considered mystical or magical, that all of the great scholars and philosophers that have lived since 79 AD tried to all solve but failed. Originally, it was considered 2B, a Latin palindrome, but Jensen proved that wrong by cracking it and tying in to the CIA and time travelers. And the way Jensen linked his theory to Hollywood and Christopher Nolan's film Tenet in relation to the CIA, the deja vu phenomenon and the root cause of the Mandela effect, ultimately solving 3 unsolved mysteries in science all at one time. Following his theory that the square is a tool for intelligence operatives, helps to understand the subtle nuances and variations of the square that have been discovered throughout history and how they serve as a form of simplistic encryption for intelligence operatives traversing multiple time planes.
I would have to agree with the Trumpster. Not everyone is built to handle being cursed with good looks and charm like Jensen, but he has set a great example for what a good quality American should be like. Recently, he unlocked an ancient 2,000-year-old puzzle and connected it to Christopher Nolan and his 2020 film Tenet, and tied that to the laws of attraction, and showed how these quantum leaps had ripple effects linked to the laws of attraction. Jensen's educational background, creativity, and artistic style have led him down the path of consulting for branding and marketing campaigns like Delta 8 Vapes and P2 Athletics, which is a great youth training program headquartered out of Esperanza High School's varsity football program under Coach Craig, and his dude BZ does it, helping them to grow their Pillars of Power program nationally for all youth athletes, making it your one-stop shop for everything NIL, covering sports training, education, strength and conditioning training for your mind and body, financial acumen, corporate sponsorship and endorsement deals, public relations and media training, investment coaching and representation, and into app development as well with his startup company, Mad Love Enterprises, becoming a subject matter expert in AI and ChatGPT. He is the author of an incredible self-help book teaching beginners the step-by-step basics of how to use ChatGPT, which is out exclusively on Amazon and Kindle Unlimited, called Navigating ChatGPT, How to Fake It Till You Make It, the Gen X Hack for Beginners. And he has one published research paper. He has a new research paper in review that me and the Trumpster wanted to recognize him for, called True Hollywood Story, Decoding the Sator Square, a revolutionary theory connecting Christopher Nolan to the phenomenon of deja vu, quantum leaps, the Mandela effect, the CIA, and everything in between. I know it may sound like a long title, but when you solve 3 unsolved mysteries in science, then you get the benefit of making the title as long as you fucking want to, if you know what I'm saying. But let's break down this interpretation of the Sator square puzzle. Jensen had a brilliant idea and used his handy-dandy tool called Google Translate on the detect mode And when they are deciphered through a multi-language lens, they actually reveal instructions between agents telling them where to go next or where they are now. Sator in Basque means mole, and a mole is often referred to as an undercover agent. Rep-o in Javanese means where. Are you or where you are, and acts like your pin drop location. Tenet in Basque means I have. Opera in Latin means the operational details. Rotas in Portuguese means routes or follow my path.
I'm telling you, Jensen might be the smartest guy on the planet. When interpreted through his brilliant multilingual lens, these 5 words reveal a message. Agent, I am here, referring to the geographical location where the square was found. I have the operational details. Follow my path. Following his theory that the square is a tool for intelligence operatives helps to understand the subtle nuances and variations of the square that have been discovered throughout history and how they serve as a form of simplistic encryption for intelligence operatives traversing multiple time planes. And the way Jensen linked his theory to Hollywood and Christopher Nolan's film Tenet in relation to the CIA is brilliant. I'm telling you, he is one of the smartest men on the planet, along with Elon, Joe Rogan, and that AJ dude with the jokester fish on the Y-Files. God cursed them with good looks and charm. And that is a huge, huge understatement. But I'm telling you, God had to give that curse to somebody, so why not them? I think the last Prez just shat himself right now, so I'll explain everything till he gets back so his handlers can change his diaper real fast. Let me explain the theory. The CIA uses telepaths to remotely view different eras of time. The telepaths do remote viewing on planet, off planet, and in different eras like the future and the past. I know all of you are thinking that I sound crazy and this is all mumbo jumbo from a sci-fi film. But I'm telling you, this is the truth. So for simple terms, the CIA uses the telepaths to view the future, to scan it, to see if there are any catastrophic events happening that could possibly end mankind, mostly due to wars between countries or natural disasters. They review battles in history and say that this specific battle in history, on this specific timeline, needs to be altered, and assign it as a mission. Tenet is about 2 CIA agents that use turnstiles to become inverted, allowing them to reverse their entropy and move backwards through time. While inverted, they experience time running in reverse relative to normal time, meaning they move backwards while the rest of the world continues moving forward. Following his theory that the square is a tool for intelligence operatives helps to understand the subtle nuances and variations of the square that have been discovered throughout history and how they serve as a form of simplistic encryption for intelligence operatives traversing multiple time planes. So the physical location of where the square is found serves as a pin drop location indicating to their partner that they are here on this geographical timeline only. This shows them a temporal pathway for them to find them on while the rest of the world moves forward, experiencing its intended future. The year that it's discovered in serves as a starting point to either move forward or backwards in time. Next, the orientation of the way the square is written serves as another layer of encryption, which would only mean something to time-traveling operatives because they understand the nuances of it. With Sator at the top, this means to travel forward in time, and if it's found written inverted with rotas at the top, and the letter S is written backwards, then just like in the movie Tenet, the CIA operatives would jump inverted and go backwards in time from the year they found it on that timeline only. For ease of this exercise, let's pretend that the British won the Battle of the American Revolution and the CIA saw that the future was revealed, something catastrophic for mankind. So the CIA assigns two operatives to go back in time into 1775 at the Battle of Lexington and Concord, the first battle of the American Revolutionary War, changing the outcome so that the Americans now win the war. And as a result of the laws of attraction, cause and effect, this creates a second timeline, making two versions of us, but with a new intended future. By returning to this event to alter it, a parallel future emerges on a localized timeline, affecting only that region while maintaining the rest of the world's original path, creating a second timeline with two simultaneous versions of us. Then, nearly 200 years later, the Big Top Peanut Butter Company was bought by Procter & Gamble. They decided to rebrand it to compete with Skippy and the Peter Pan Peanut Butter Company and relaunched it as the Jiffy Peanut Butter Company of Lexington, Kentucky in 1956 up until 2016, when the first Mandela Effect event involving a product was noticed, because the first event was named after Nelson Mandela over discrepancies over his death. So this becomes the second part of the event that creates both the deja vu phenomenon and the Mandela effect. When the operatives change history and create the second timeline, that plays catch up to the original timeline. You relive some of the same events, triggering your memory as if you have been here before.
Hey, Donnie, I overheard you talking about Jensen. That fucking guy is brilliant. It's amazing how he ties the Mandela effect to the movie Tenet, explaining how we jumped into a new reality or timeline that was created as a result of the CIA operatives going back in time to change the outcome of a battle in history with the intent to change the outcome so that it changes the future. But due to the laws of attraction, the cause and effect of this action is that a second timeline is created, making two versions of us. As the new timeline plays catch-up to the first timeline, each timeline with unique events coexist. So timeline number one goes on and has the future as intended it was supposed to be. Timeline number two plays catch-up. Timeline number one, and this is where deja vu exists, where you feel like you've been here before or lived this exact moment already. Well, it's because you have. You already experienced this moment. When you live through it the first time around and your memory gets triggered to that exact moment you already experienced. So that is how the deja vu phenomenon is created. Now, when timeline number two plays catch up to timeline number one, and in 1956, when Procter & Gamble bought, rebranded, and relaunched the Big Top Peanut Butter Company as Jiffy Peanut Butter to compete with Peter Pan and Skippy. But this time around, when deciding on a name for it, they say, what about Jif Peanut Butter? So timeline number two continues to play catch up to timeline number one. And in 2016, it catches back up and merges back together, or collides, air quotes. And this moment is where the Mandela effect occurs, because timeline number one makes Jiffy peanut butter, and timeline number two makes Jif, and the consumers from timeline one notice the physical name change on the product itself at the store level, while the consumers from timeline two only know of Jif. And when the Mandela effect is called out, the makers of Jif show the history of their logo, and Jiffy never existed. Which, to timeline two, that is correct. So the people from timeline number one who only know Jiffy peanut butter see the name change to Jif, think, what the fuck, we must have jumped timelines, which is somewhat correct. When both timelines collide at this point, it creates a third timeline that has a mixed future, creating a third version of us. But in reality, both are correct and neither are wrong, because each timeline existed with its own unique events and only became noticed after the CIA operatives made the change to history, sparking a series of dominoes that changed history. And they aren't discovered until the timelines collide back together, meaning there are now, at a minimum, three versions of us living simultaneously. Timeline one has the original bad future that the CIA operatives had a mission to go change because something in it was bad and believed it needed to be fucked with for our own best interest. Timeline two has the new intended future. Timeline three, which is the mixed timeline of 1, 2, and 3, containing the deja vu event and the Mandela effect event. In this timeline, you can literally divide who the smart people with common sense are and who the woke pansies are. And the line can be literally drawn right down the middle between Gen X and Gen Y. Or, more commonly known as the woke pansy, everybody gets a trophy, mostly Democratic millennials, who fucking cry about anything and everything. Don't get me wrong, because there are some smart-ass, tech-savvy kids in that group of the all-inclusive era, but it hasn't made as many of the save-the-day type heroes, compared to the Gen X generations and earlier that are made up of those tough, no helmet wearing, this buds for you, one-handed, thumbs up in the air, bike ramp, jumping over 10 kids laying down in the street with the last 2 kids who may die if the jumper bitches out and comes up short. Come home when the streetlights turn on, cigarettes smoking, no seatbelt wearing, skaters, not scooters, hot metallic garden hose, water drinking, burning ants, and roly-polies with a magnifying glass, pyro latchkey. Kids who mob the streets as bike gangs, listening for the ice cream truck and never washing their hands type of kids who could have a broken leg and their parent just yells at them to walk it off. Those are the type of people who give you that sense of save the day heroism that you get when one of them shows up to help you out. They invoke a feeling inside of you that makes you feel safe and that somehow everything is going to be okay. I tell you what, the Gen X generation is the most important generation of our time. By the way, how come no one ever brings up the extinction of roly-polies? My kids have never seen one in their entire life, and they are playing in the same exact environment I did when I grew up with all of my cousins. So honestly, I think that they went extinct by way of magnifying glass torture for fun. Being burned to death by 7-year-old Oshkosh Bigosh overall, wearing 70-ish board haircut. Kids who hadn't discovered a book of matches yet, but got a kick out of melting roly-polies and ants to death for fun. Oh, hey there, Joey, bye-bye. The Don Dizzle was just telling me how you just shat yourself, but I wanted to make sure I got to stop and say hi to you because I heard, according to Elon, that you are my first friend that is a trillionaire due to all of that fraudulent and corrupt money you and Hunter stole.
Okay, I'm back. Man, that was a wet one of those that you have just keep wiping and wiping forever.
I'm telling you, Jensen is absolutely brilliant. He cracked the Sator square, a 2,000-year-old puzzle that all the big-time scholars and philosophers tried to solve but failed before, incorrectly labeling it a Latin palindrome because they only tried to translate it in Latin. Instead of thinking outside of the box, these guys had no creativity whatsoever and ended up attributing the square to ancient mythology or magic. But Jensen took a multilingual approach to the puzzle and smartly used his handy-dandy tool, Google Translate, and discovered that the square was actually an encrypted communication device for time-traveling operatives whose mission is to go back in time on a specific geographical timeline to change a specific battle in history in order to change the outcome of the future, which, coincidentally, is the premise of Christopher Nolan's 2020 film Tenet.
So to close it out, this smart motherfucker able to crack the 2,000-year-old puzzle, the Sator square, and link it to the CIA, showing that it was an encrypted communication tool for time-traveling operatives whose mission is to go back into history to change the past, to create a new future, because they saw something in our future that was going to be so catastrophic that they believed it was in the best interest for all of humanity that they send operatives back in time to change the past so that they can attempt to save humanity by altering time and sending them down a new path towards a new, better future to avoid a catastrophic ending of humanity. So all of the bullshit about the Sator square being a Latin palindrome or tying to magical and mystical bullshit is just lazy thinking by idiots who aren't smart enough to think outside the box and realize how this was a highly advanced piece of technology that was used by CIA operatives to save the world. And this encrypted tool was made and used so cleverly that it took over 2,000 years and many attempts by all of the great scholars, philosophers, scientists, historians, and linguists to solve it, and nobody ever did until Jensen solved it. And on top of that, he provided the most comprehensive theory for the unexplainable occurrence of the déjà vu phenomenon and the Mandela effect, which no scientist or scholar have been able to definitively describe as the root cause of those incidents. So he brilliantly solved three, in theory, because we can't actually actions of the mind, but for the most part, he solved three of the unexplained occurrences that all of the world's most brilliant minds in the last 2,500 years haven't been able to solve. And he easily, logically, and methodically solved all three at the same time that comprehensively actually make the most logical sense out of all of the previous theories that I have seen, because he uses common sense, encryption, linguistics, technology, government operations, national security, the salvation of humanity, quantum leaps, science, pop culture, and Hollywood, for all intents and purposes, by deductive reasoning. That would mean that he is one of the smartest people on the planet, since he was able to solve all at one time three of the world's longest-running unsolved mysteries. If you ask me, he should be given an award and recognized globally for his contribution to the world of science, stamping his footprint onto the timeline of mankind's timeline, just like Thomas Edison or Albert Einstein have been, because he was actually able to solve something that they attempted to but failed. And that's not me just talking shit. That's me being realistic, that he solved something that they did not or could not. So he should at least be recognized to be on that same level of historical contributors of society. He is the epitome of what the Doge is about, because he solved three at one time. I mean, if that isn't the definition of efficiency, I don't know what is. Really, some company should be driving up to his house with dump trucks full of money and just dumping of millions of dollars, because this guy is $1 billion idea guy, just walking around waiting to happen. I mean, if I wasn't already running 5 companies plus running the Doge, this is the type of guy I would go pick up and give him boatloads of money to run a creative minds or brainstorming innovation type of company, because he thinks way outside the box and lives by the philosophy that anything can be done, it just hasn't been done yet. Oh, it's my understanding that he just comes from humble beginnings, but is looking for investors for some innovative apps and devices that he designed, one that will revolutionize the entire education system and another for personal protection shield for battle. Mr. Trump is going to hate me for saying this, but it's simply just the truth. But he figured out the most legit, comprehensive, and judicially fact-based and law-abiding loophole for Americans to get out of paying their income taxes